Yep. Oh, Mr. Moohead, we'll get it together in the second half. We'll make adjustments, Mr. Moohead. Right. Righto, Alex. Righto. You know, let me explain something, Bronk. Shit happens. And then I'm just going to go ahead and pull this off because that comment in and of itself is, if I can get it off, I will. All right. Shit doesn't just happen unless you get shot in a drive-by shooting, something you don't prepare for. That's how shit happens. If you're going to use the line shit happens, then let it be something that is absolutely happenstance, that you had nothing to do with. I'm purposely not letting anybody on the air right now until I've spoken my piece. If you thought they weren't prepared for the first half, now, what do you think? Yeah. Totally lost control. The team quit. Baker Mayfield looked like Deshaun Kaiser, getting buried under an avalanche of a pass rush. There's no strategy, only gimmicks. And this is absolute truth, Mark Jones. And this is why I said previous to the beginning of the season, you have the old offensive coordinator, a new offensive coordinator, and the old offensive coordinator is a head coach when he's never been a head coach before, and he wants to call the plays, and Monken doesn't, and it's still a new offense with all new terminology, and nobody looked like they knew what in the fuck they were doing. In fact, the only way that Mr. Manufactured Home could try to make something happen is with the hurry-up offense. Oh, let's go to the hurry-up offense. Maybe we'll fool them. You know, maybe we do a Statue of Liberty play. Yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah. And hold the ball back. Somebody takes it out of your hand and runs around the end. Yeah, we'll draw that one up in the dirt. It's pathetic. The offense is pathetic. People weren't open, and to make things worse, they weren't even on the same page. You know, it's just unbelievable. Yeah. Thank you for that, neo-Nazi. All right. You know, I'm starting the show early because what's the point of watching that nonsense? When a team gives up, they give up. Uncle! Uncle! Oh, and this was a team everybody had such high hopes for. You know, losing is one thing. Quitting is altogether another. And they quit. And we've seen this from regime after regime after regime. Nobody thought that Baker Mayfield's spirit could be crushed. Well, we're going to find out now, aren't we? We're going to find out what he's made of, because he's going to be injured before week 4, and none of it's going to matter. We don't have an offensive line. Well, what do we have? We still don't have any linebackers who can cover tight ends. That's for damn sure. Yeah. I could make a comment, but you're my buddy, OG. You're my buddy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm waiting for the fanboys to say, well, it's only one game. Which is right up there where shit happens. No, no. Team wasn't prepared. They didn't play together during the preseason. They're running a new offense. They look like they were all running in opposite directions. It looked like one of those motorized vibration football games. Unbelievable. Oh, somebody wants to come into the program. It's hammer time. We'll bring in Jim first because I'll let Bronk defend himself in just a minute. Jim, speak your piece and I'll put you on silence.
Oh, dear God. This reminds me of 2 years ago. The worst part about it, really, more than any of the dysfunction, because a lot of it was offensive line related because you basically lost 2 linemen, but was the penalties. You can't do that in the National Football League. That is a sign of a poorly disciplined team. You did not see that from the Titans. That Vrabel wouldn't put up with that shit. So that was just it was on both sides of the ball. There's no doubt, especially the first touchdown drive for the Titans, where they had 5 penalties on that drive that got them in. Just abysmal. But here's the good part: there's nowhere to go but up.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. This could be the whole season. I'm going to mute you down right now, but we're going to bring Bronk in. Bronk, I'm going to give you an opportunity to, you ripped on me. You were ferocious on my ass on Friday. And it's not that I'm looking for revenge. I'm just looking for balance here. And this is exactly what I said would happen, except I didn't think the Browns would flat out quit.
Well, I fucked up, so there you go.
Okay, thank you. And now, okay, wait, I'll be back to you. And now the biggest excuse maker of all, Ohio State loving Derek Frisbee. God only knows what this guy is going to say. Derek Frisbee with your big glasses. Yeah, I know.
What an introduction.
Yeah. I get those windshield wipers going. What you said? Oh, we're going in. We're still in this one. Well, we weren't for very long. I mean, could you tell me one positive thing that you bring out of this?
I think the only positive thing you can say is Baker Mayfield is not permanently injured. It's 1,000% on coaching. It's very obvious Freddie's not ready to be head coach. The Titans also had line problems. It wasn't just us, but due to coaching, they could put something together, and that's why they won this game. It was horrible, and I think it's time to pull Freddie into the office and say you don't get this many chances because with the talent we have, I don't care how bad we looked, we are more talented than the Titans. We should have won that game. It's all on.
Oh, I don't want to hear about talent. You see, talent.
It's true.
Look, it's true. I mean, what are you going to do? Are you rubbing your penis? I mean, what the hell does that mean? By the way, if you want to make a comment on the program, that's it. You take that link that's in the chat room and you click on it and it automatically teleports you. It's just like Scotty beating your fucking ass up in Star Trek, okay? It's just that simple. I'm going to mute you, Derek Frisbee, because honestly, the talent argument goes out the window. Talent doesn't quit. Were you raising your hand, Mr. Hammer Time?
No, I was actually doing the Star Trek beaming down thing, but
okay.
It was no. The only good thing I could think of was how well Dontrell Hilliard played until he got concussed. That is something that I was a good takeaway from the first half. I was rather surprised.
He never plays for more than 10 minutes. The guy never plays for.
Yeah, but I mean, he actually, he played a lot in this game until he got hurt. whether or not,
He was injured the whole preseason. The reason we got rid of Duke Johnson was because he gets injured all the time. Dontrell Hilliard is a younger version of Duke Johnson who gets injured all the time.
This is true. I was surprised, though. I didn't think he would play as well as he did when he wasn't injured. However, there's a lot of injuries around the league. I mean, Tyreek Hill, Nick Foles, some big time names. So, and there'll probably be more to come. But, geez, I'm scrambling for good things to say about the team. There just aren't. We don't tackle well. A 75-yard screen? What the fuck? And you know what? A lot of that was over pursuit as well. If you saw, there were 3 linemen all converging on Mariota when that happened. And, so.
Yeah, well, we're going to go, I don't know how I'm going to get anything much to say in this. I'm going to start at the beginning. Old Mother Hubbard went to her cupboard to see if he could block someone else. Along came Rover and stuck his dick in his ass and carried him off the field. Oh, something like that. You know what's funny? All I heard, and this is the kind of thing that bothers the bejeebers out of me. Boy, Myles Garrett looks great. He's blowing by Hubbard in practice. Yeah, that's what I call a real great thing. Anybody can blow by Hubbard. Anybody. I have a knee replacement. I could. Perf Notch, how many 2-yard passes did Baker throw today? There was no real checkdowns because by the end, Baker was so frustrated. They were all mentally beaten because they believed their press clippings, because they believed, really, honest to God, they believed what Derek Frisbee said. That's the thing. Talent. Talent means nothing. Discipline, organization, well coached, playing within yourself, and calling simple, effective plays that blunt the other team's momentum and result in a 75-yard touchdown. Now, Derrick Henry isn't that fast, folks. We are that slow. If you want to watch that play over again, it was like me chugging down the sidelines. Did you see Schobert? Oh my God. He looks slow. He's not immortal. Look what happens in the coming weeks. People will block Cameron Wake with no trouble. Hubbard couldn't block him. Hubbard can't stay in front of anyone. We've been reading in the press that in practice he's been getting ripped by. So what do you think he was going to do in full speed? Please. Oh, here comes Stephen Rose. I got to let him in. All right.
Mr. Muhead.
Yeah, what's up?
Okay, I don't know if you saw my comments earlier, but I'm holding a pick'em league, and out of 148 people, 113 of those selected the Browns, 35 selected the Titans, and I was not one of those fortunate people. I did not expect Baker Mayfield to have 3 interceptions today for 285 yards and 1 touchdown. I would never guess in a million years that was going to happen.
Look, he was pressured the entire game, and I'm hearing from people, he doesn't look like the same guy he was last year. And you know why? Because nobody knows how to run the offense. And this is what I was afraid of in the first place. This is what I was afraid of. You didn't see the offense in the preseason games, and they asked Freddie, remember? So are you preparing for Tennessee? No, we're not. We're not preparing for one team. We're trying to prepare for a season. Good answer. Good answer. And the top answer is you're a douchebag. All right.
Mr. Moohead, is it?
No, I cut him off. All right. Now we'll go back to Bronk. Bronk,
Wow, I'm
besides
back.
the mea culpa, what next?
I'm preparing for you to go back to me so soon because I can pinpoint the exact moment when we lost this game. The exact moment was when the extra point went wide and we only got 6 points instead of 7. And that's when the whole ratchety thing started going downhill right after that. And Freddie Kitchens is not a play caller. We've said this in the preseason, and they need to probably delegate that out to Moncton or just send a prayer up or something, because the play calling wasn't good, and the defense, it looked a lot. You know what opener it reminded me of? It reminded me of the 2008 opener when we had gone 10-6, just missed the playoffs. In 2007, we had Derek Anderson and Braylon Edwards and Kellen Winslow Jr., and we were going to fucking kick ass with Romeo Crennel, and the team was in disarray, and we absolutely stunk up the place, and we stunk up the season. And that was my first season watching Moohead Radio. Was 2008. So that's pretty much what I have to say quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, what I can tell you all is this. Rick May, good point. We didn't convert a third down until 3 minutes left in the third quarter. We were running broken plays. Here's, yeah, we got next week against the Jets. Yeah, we do.
It was an unprecedented amount of penalties. And to be fair, all the penalties were fucking penalties. You can't say the refs got them wrong. They were 100% fucking penalties. Maybe the refs could have even called more. Maybe they might have even called a few against Tennessee every now and then. But certainly every penalty that we had, and Robinson, I don't know, does he get suspended for a few games after that? If you do that in a Premier League game in football over here, you get suspended for 3 games if you get thrown out. So, maybe the league will look at that and say, maybe he doesn't come back until October. So Birds could have some real problems on their offensive line, and they made 2 of them inactive. Bust Corbett and the one guy that they traded for, I don't know, Wyatt or whatever. So they had 2 guys inactive on the offensive line, and then they were down to nobody. And the tight ends, we've said this before, they cannot fucking block. And why they brought in Harris from Kansas City, I don't know. Does he have pics of Dorsey's wife or something? He is absolutely horrific. And I've said he was horrific. Our tight end room absolutely sucks. So we need to sort out the offensive line, and we need to sort out including the tight ends so that we actually have some blocking and we actually have some running plays.
I'll tell you, Ramanjit Gill is Captain Obvious. All right. Thanks for that in-depth analysis.
Yeah, well, the interceptions happen because of all the other shit that happened beforehand. You can basically not. I think Baker Mayfield is virtually blameless for this loss. I think the loss is due to the coaching staff and the penalties and the indiscipline and whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Mayfield, I don't give any blame to Mayfield for this game.
All right. Hold on a sec. We'll bring Hammer Time back in. Jim, what's your real final feeling about this? I mean, where do you go from here?
Well, I think the good part is the fact that they do have the Jets next week. That is a good feeling because they're a team that regardless of what they did this year, they're also a younger, a building program as well. So that is a good thing to at least have. But there's not really much to build off of. The D line looked strong a few times, but they weren't able to hold on to things. Too many silly penalties, but a lot of the silly penalties can be fixed. And I agree with exactly what Bronx said. It wasn't a ref's, a situation where we were getting hosed on penalties. They were all legitimate penalties. There wasn't anything that was even close to, they were stupid things. And they even showed some of this stuff, the personal fouls and stuff. They were just dumbass stuff. Now, that is something that hopefully that they can get over. Derrick Henry did eventually get his that pass. It was funny.
Well, that's because we were worn down and we quit. But you see, the thing that bothers me is the personal foul penalties in this game. I mean, that shows mental weakness. Mm-hmm. It isn't even a lack of technique. It is a lack of composure. And you are under the national spotlight. People picked you to have great record. And you lose your composure in front of your home fans, and you take a big steaming dump in the middle of the field in front of your home fans. And you totally lose your composure. You get thrown out of games. Myles Garrett was punching a guy in the face. He was lucky he wasn't thrown out of the game for throwing a shot to the head. And the fact is, he was getting manhandled. They showed exactly what was happening to him. The guy can't bull rush because he's lost all that weight. He's got to go around people. And Mariota had time to throw the football. And the play that we gave up a 75-yard screen pass, all of our guys were on the wrong side of the field.
Yeah, that was a well-designed, I think you called that right. There was a very well-designed, simple play to take advantage of the over-pursuit of the defense, where they just were going after him like crazy. And they showed there were 6 people between the next person over there. Another thing, though, that actually isn't a bad thing, they held Derrick Henry to 84 yards, and that guy was a beast at the end of last year. That's not that bad, keeping him under 100 yards rushing. Considering how bad everything was, that was something that was just, but hopefully, like I said, they can get some of this stuff together. It's some things that can fix. I'm still worried about the offensive line. We'll have to see what happens with all those guys, because the reason why Mayfield was able to do what he could do last year was he didn't have those problems with the offensive line, and he wasn't getting clobbered. And possibly the best move of the entire weekend was I switched out Mayfield for Breeze on my fantasy football team about an hour before the game, just feeling your pain, Moo. And I was just like, I just didn't feel too good about it. I thought, I'll take my chances with Drew Brees and against Houston. He's just a steadier kind of guy. And
Cyprian Johnson has a good point here. They've been together a few years, and of course the Browns have no offensive line, and everyone knows you got OBJ, you gave away Zeitler, and now you have nobody who can play the position, and obviously Baker Mayfield is going to get roughed up. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that last year Baker understood the defense, and I'm going to put you on mute here, and we're going to bring Derek in just a minute here. He understood the offense last year, and he is uncertain. He was holding on to the ball too long as well. And that's something that you would expect to see from a rookie quarterback, not from Baker Mayfield. If he doesn't get the offense, nobody does, okay? If he doesn't know where the receivers are supposed to be on the field, nobody does. Or if the receivers aren't open, then there is no hope whatsoever. But what I noticed is that many times he kind of looked like he wanted to throw it. He had to pull the ball back because there was nothing there. He looked on one side of the field and he was stuck on it, and then he kind of looked the other, but by then the offensive line had caved in. So, just it's I guess what it is, and here's our first official troll of the season, and I just wanted to say, shit does happen. Shit does happen. All right. Just watch your back, douchebag. All right. And I don't even want to put that guy up on the screen. All right, Derek, what do you think?
I was just going to say I do agree with Bronk in saying after Seibert missed that field goal or the extra point, it kind of psychologically put everything back into this is the old Browns, and it just went downhill from there. Baker was holding on to the ball a lot. I do think, we can say not everything was his fault, but I do think that there were times he needed to at least get the ball, throw it away. As far as going from here, I think Dorsey might have to see what he can do, maybe get some trades. If we trade a top pick and we can get somewhat of a line together to try to save this season, because as of now, this is a horrible start. And starting off the game, that was a great first drive by that offense. Once he missed the kick, everything else went downhill from there. So,
well, I mean, I think that realistically, Freddie Kitchens just said the only way we could even try to run this offense is if we don't huddle up and try to just rush them into mistakes, because they seem to know what we were doing before we did it. And by the way, Alec Schurger, no, I'm not saying that you're the troll. DBag0584 is the troll, because he's, your question is a legitimate one. Are the Ravens going to be at the top of the division? They in Pittsburgh, as always. As always and forevermore. All right? Good organizations find a way to replace, players with other players. And, unfortunately, you can talk about talent all you want to talk about. We spent money and did this and that. But, I have a sick feeling in my gut. A sick feeling that Jimmy Haslam making Freddie Kitchens the head coach may end up being the kiss of death for this organization. Not because Freddie's a bad guy, but he's never done it before. And he's going to do all the mea culpas. He's going to say, it's all on me. And we know what he's going to say. He's probably already said it. So, this is what we get. We got a guy who was inexperienced, and he was shown up as very inexperienced, and he was melting down on the sidelines. He couldn't stop the players from committing these penalties. He couldn't get his footing on anything. The offense couldn't adjust to what the defense was doing, and we couldn't block at the point of attack. The whole thing just really bad. And that's the first thing that I'd be worried about, is that Freddie in the preseason said, well, if we come out and lay an egg, it's going to be my fault. It's going to be all on me. And you know something? I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear the personal mea culpa bullshit, because the players were the ones committing the penalties. The players were the ones kicking people in the head and getting thrown out of the game. And the fact of the matter is, you obviously wanted to, you wanted to have a physical team, but while the play was going, not after the play. And to make it even worse, you had players who just lost their composure. So, it's not just the head coach, although the head coach, once he takes the mea culpa, the players will say, yep, it was his fault.
Holy crap.
Yep, it was his fault. That's what the deal's going to be. And the players won't take responsibility. Oh, they'll say so much, I'm like, oh, yeah, we didn't play the way we were supposed to. But, man, we'll let, the coach get whacked. And the teams just lay down again. And it just gets really, it's true. The most penalties since 1995, and it was very hard to watch. Stephen Rose, what next? You have to unmute yourself, dude.
I just wanted to ask you, do you think the Browns, I understand that the interceptions, the offensive line, I get all that, but I'm just asking as a whole, from the players to the coaching staff, do you think they looked past this Titans team and said, oh, this is an easy one on the schedule?
No, I think they just weren't prepared to play football. I don't think that the preseason, I talked about this, I talked about it. The defense didn't look like they knew what they were doing at all. The offense didn't look like they knew what they were doing. players didn't play the entire preseason, and this is what we ended up with. So, I think these types of results can be anticipated when you're trying to save the health of your players and you're trying to initiate a new system, and they come out in the field and they don't understand the new system, either defensively or offensively. And, there was no pass rush on Mariota to speak of. Nothing at all. I mean, every time they would just run a little misdirection fake and he would roll out the opposite way, kind of a naked boot kind of thing. And then he would stop and throw it back across the field, and he just kept completing passes to tight ends. It was the entire horror story that I delineated on Friday, that we can't cover tight ends and our linebackers can't cover anybody. And it's the same old story. And if you were waiting to see the Olivier Vernon, who, the only time we saw him was when he late hit the quarterback. And that was the only time we even heard his name called. If you were looking for Myles Garrett, there was the one sack, and that was about it. And if you were looking for Ogunjobi, there was one sack, and that was about it. I mean, realistically, yeah, in the center of the line against the run for the first 3 quarters or 2.5 quarters of the game, yeah, they look fairly stout that way. But what difference does it make if you had the 3rd and longs that you wanted, and you still let Mariota stand back there and pick you to pieces? It's really an unfortunate kind of thing. Here's a comment from Atlanta ASMR fan. Everyone's talking about Kitchens' lack of discipline for the players. I'm concerned about the defensive scheme that Wilkes is running out there. It looked like a full-time prevent. The thing about Cleveland, and you have to understand this, they always come in saying they want to blitz, but when the game actually starts, somehow we end up just kind of laying back. And it's because we can't cover anybody. And this team didn't have good wide receivers. And there were a number that were open that Mariota just threw away because he threw them too early or inaccurately. But there were a lot of guys open for them. It's really too bad.
Mr. Red, do you think?
Yep.
I was just going to ask you, do you think because of the way that the Browns finished last year that maybe the bar was just raised too high, that this team still needed time to gel?
No. I mean, the bar is awfully low now. They're not any good. The offensive line stinks. The head coach is inexperienced. The game plan was non-existent. For all the talk about, we're going to run the football, no, we didn't. In a less than 1 touchdown game, we were throwing on every down, just like Hugh Jackson would do. Same shit. Lousy coach, lousy concept, lousy game plan. So that's where the bar is set now. Lousy. The Jets are going to run over us. They're going to run roughshod over us. Darnold is going to pick us to pieces. The Cleveland Browns right now are the worst team in the division because they don't look like they know what they're doing. I can't say anything about Cincinnati at this point, but damn, you don't have a chance against Baltimore or Pittsburgh when you're undisciplined like this. And the sad part of it is that Freddie Kitchens specifically stated accountability, discipline. That's what we're really doing with these guys. And toughness. The holy trinity of Freddie's failure. It's just crazy. Yeah, Bronk, what do you think?
Big point in I don't know how many interviews, like, we don't practice penalties. Or maybe if we fucking practice penalties, we wouldn't have had so fucking many. I mean, how many times...
Wait a minute. Ding, 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 ding. We have our first fanboy in the chat room. You still waiting for the Indians to make the playoff, Mario?
Oh, my God.
Why don't you grab your cart and go around in circles with a gorilla? Give me a fucking break. It's been 1 game. Come on.
Indians are even out of the wild card now.
This is the game that everyone was waiting for. This is what you were preparing the entire preseason for. It's not just 1 game. You have to plan for the next game in less than a week's time. You had weeks to prepare for this game. You knew who you were playing. You knew what they were going to do. You knew they were going to throw to tight ends. You knew that they were going to run the football. You knew they were a stout defensive team. And what do? You're running little trick plays and hurry up offenses. It's been one game. Come on.
I think Derek wants to say something. I'll mute.
Derek wants to say something on mute. Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you. I think I have my own answer, but I want to get your take on this. How scared are you, being the fact that was a home game and not an away game, with all the excitement and the fans there to back you, and it completely backfired? So does that scare you?
It just tells me that this is more of the same. And the fans will go home and say the same thing. And that's the worst thing that could happen to the organization, is that the new day that was allegedly dawning isn't happening. And the fans are going to go home, 67,000 of them, and the world watched the game. And everyone's going to walk away with the same feeling that it's the same old Browns. We've heard it over and over again. Yes, Bronk?
Oh, the game was on live on Sky here, and the BBC guys absolutely hated the Browns, fucking hate Baker Mayfield, hate everything, and they were like in full Browns hate mode in their preview program last night. So there's going to be a lot of people chuckling away, even outside of America, on this game.
Hey, D-Bag, it's Moohead. Moorhead was your father. Okay.
Yeah, I like Moorhead, actually. Moorhead College. That's the sort of college everyone.
Goodness gracious. I mean, it's just, hey, I got nothing against the Ravens, D-Bag. I really don't, because you guys looked very good today, and I'm happy for you. But, the Browns aren't going to be competitive with you. You got nothing to worry about. Jason Fortman is saying he wanted to keep Greg Williams. I'd rather have Greg Brady. Thank you for your point of view.
Brady fun.
Thank you. It took a little while to get to Texas, but it got there. Erlanger Veritas, that's what fans will be saying. That's exactly what, we got the buildup, we got the hype, and Baker before the game, our wide receivers should be licking their chops at these one-on-one opportunities. Yep. Second verse, same as the first. This looked a lot like the dress rehearsal in week 3, folks. It really did.
It's going to be pretty lonely on the Cleveland Browns Daily Show with Zagur and Bo Bishop. No one's going to show up in the chat room unless they're angry.
Well, I mean, it's and again, keeping Greg Williams isn't the answer to anything. He's a douchebag, and again, he's a douchebag, and yeah, Derek, go ahead, talk about OBJ.
Oh, you see my comment?
Yeah, I read every comment.
All I'm saying is this: at least, if we're looking for positives, at least the majority of balls that were thrown at him, he caught. He didn't look horrible. He looked like OBJ, but it's not like he was breaking for touchdowns, but it was still catches, which is, it's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah,
that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he did look less dangerous this afternoon, Rick. The fact of the matter is that it's a team effort. And you can make Baker Mayfield look terrible with an unintelligible offense, a non-existent game plan, and a lousy offensive line. And you'll get him injured, and the best thing that you have will go to waste. It's the whole recent history of the Cleveland Browns organization.
Do you think Dorsey's going to trade for a line?
He's going to get held up now, and the Giants obviously are dead serious about not moving Trent Williams, and so no, I think that the Browns are just, Kendall
Williams
Lim.
will
We're
end up
gonna.
on the Patriots. Sorry, he'll end up on the Patriots along with Antonio Brown. That's where he'll go.
Yeah, and these are all statistics. Perfnotch, thank you for this. The fact of the matter is that nobody was open downfield. This is, and again, he's going to have to answer for himself. Going to have to answer. I don't know if you want to implicate a fullback. I think you want to employ a fullback in the blocking scheme, but to implicate a fullback, that might be an interesting thing because we don't even have one anyway to implicate. So, and Cyprian, and exactly, you never know what you have as a quarterback. Okay, you really never know exactly what you have when you have nothing in front of him, and this appears to be the case. We'll do our last comments. Stephen, you got to unmute yourself if you want to make a final comment for the show today.
I hope the Browns readjust in next week against the Jets because I would sure hate them to overlook the next team like they did today against the Titans. There's no way in hell you would have told me that the Titans were going to win 43-13 on 3 turnovers or 3 interceptions in a weak O-line. I would have told you you're crazy. So the Browns, I hope they adjust because 0-2 looks prominent at this time.
And here's the deal. Jason makes the best point of all. You might have gotten surprised in the first half, but the fact that you made adjustments and it got worse, that really is a damning thing. And that wins my gold star comment. Concisely put, a experienced coach would have made adjustments at halftime, or they would have been more effective. These adjustments only put us in a hurry-up offense and basically told the defense to go ahead and quit. And something, that's where he belongs, Brian. Williams is on the Redskins. Good for him. And now we're getting the let's blame the refs comment from Tony.
No.
That was a good call on the offensive interference against Odell Beckham. He shoved the guy off 2.5 yards off of where he was, and you could see that he literally extended his arm.
It's a penalty.
Yeah. So, Wilkes was with the Cardinals before the Browns. People say he had no talent. He has talent now, and I don't think anybody gets it. I think that everything is new. Everyone wants to say, well, look how good we were last year, in the second half of the season. And everything's changed since then. The offensive coordinator has changed. The terminology has changed. And what's going to happen again is, Freddie's going to have to say, well, I got to look at the plays that these guys understand. And we'll have to run only the ones that we're good at. And it's the same bullshit all over again. I thought that, we should be prepared for this. But the defense is new defensive coordinator. Everything is new, and it just looked completely rusty. So, Bronk, what's your final comment?
Well, we all know what Kitchens is going to say, but the important thing is what Dorsey is going to say or do. Is he actually, because he's responsible for putting Kitchens where he is. And what I said in the halftime chat was that a championship team, a division-winning team, would have come back at halftime and won that game. So we do not have a division-winning team. It is what it is.
It is what it is right. And final comment from Derek Frisbee for your input on the show today. What do you say, Derek?
We got till next Monday to figure things out, or this is going to keep going as bad as it looked today.
Well, and when Freddie says he got to figure it out, you're supposed to have had it figured out in preseason, my man. And there is a very short leash because the expectations are very high, and nobody can blame the organization for not going out and getting players. Nobody can sit there and piss and moan about it, but somehow we always end up fucking it up. And, you know, what he's got to figure out is why in the hell he thought they were prepared to play week 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that Freddie's got to figure out.
Yeah, my final thing I'll say is coaching, we got to figure it out because this lack of discipline is going to cost us every single game. Even if we play a high school team, you can't as many field goal or as many penalties as we had today. So we got to figure a lot of things out.
Yep. And I will finish up here now. You know, what happened to the blitzing that caused turnovers? Nothing was getting done. I think the plan was for the front four to get to the quarterback. They couldn't do it. All the hype about Sheldon Richardson and Olivier Vernon and Myles Garrett, which is becoming commonplace. Myles Garrett is the greatest player who was never great. And I get tired of this kind of shit in Cleveland where we anoint people as really great. And no. Cameron Wake was great today because he was playing against a guy who was basically in a wheelchair. So, you know, this is it, you know. And I think, again, all of these comments are going to be very much the problem of the organization. You know, everyone's tired of saying this is how this could go if it goes right, and then it goes wrong because we didn't keep what was best from last year. Nothing looked similar from last year. Nothing in the playbook, nothing on the field looked similar. And it just looked like more gadgetry and less substance. And it's really bad. And already somebody wanting their money back, you know? Yeah. We hear it all the time, Mr. Fergus. We hear it all the time. You know, and I talked about this earlier, Perf Notch. Yeah, I say that if you're implementing a new system, you know, and you know what's funny about this? In last year's Hard Knock show, and I'm going to end the show on this note and let y'all think about this because I think it's interesting. When Hugh Jackson gave people time off in preseason, it was Freddie Kitchens who argued that these guys needed to be on the field. Do you remember? I mean, I wish somebody would get that clip and show it. It was Greg Williams and Freddie Kitchens who were saying, you know, these guys need reps. They need to be on the field. Yet Freddie becomes the head coach and he does the same fucking thing. The same thing. It's unbelievable. They're not ready. They weren't ready to play because none of them played in the preseason. They were learning this real slow, one step at a time kind of stuff, but no good. That's it, folks. Thanks everybody for watching this postgame show. I'm sorry it ended up the way it did, but 43-13 is exactly what they deserved. We'll be back on the air tomorrow to take a look at you know, maybe a slightly less emotional breakdown of the breakdown that occurred on the field today. Thanks a lot for watching. I appreciate your support, and we'll see you again on Monday at 6 o'clock on Moohead Radio. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.